Hello, Black Tornado family. I'm here joined with Mr. Cowden and Jody Guja, our mental health therapist. Um, we're going to really focus on this home stretch that we have before the end of the term. And to hit the ground running, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Cowden.
Hey everyone, Mr. Cowden here, coming to you with Puddles, Go Ducks. So as Mr. Flores was just alluding to, coming down the home stretch and kind of talking about some different things, home stretch for first trimester anyways, is what I mean by that. I'm talking about grit and how does that apply to the home stretch? How does that apply to life, et cetera? And we want to talk about this a little bit because this is important for life, right? Not just school, not just coming down the home stretch, but now more than ever, I guess I would say, in these different times, and again, finishing right the trimester as strong as you can. And so grit, what is grit? Like, hopefully some of you have heard that term, but maybe even some of you that heard of it, like, what is grit? Like gritty, I know sand's gritty, dirt's gritty. It's like, yeah, and I've even heard people say that, like, grit, it's about getting dirty. It's about like having the resolve and the tenacity to get into things, dive into things and get dirty and whatnot. But along the lines of other things, like thinking about the words tenacity or tenacious, being persistent, having resolve, drive, determination. But again, I think we wanted to touch on that because an important thing for us in life of being able to try to draw on that and those character traits that we have and that we can build on. And then the last thing I want to touch on with this in regards to grit is like, it can fluctuate, right? Like it can be different over a course of our lifetime. It could be different on the weekly or even on the daily now. Like I know myself in these different times, like I feel myself ebb and flow throughout the day in terms of having grit and tenacity and the ability to like deal with things and feel like I can overcome. And at different times in the day, I might find myself in different places, which then leads me to the thought around the growth mindset versus fixed mindset piece. And there's this belief or this theory, and I really kind of get into it, so excuse my passion on this, but having a growth mindset goes back to the, kind of that grittiness and having the ability to look at challenges and adversity as opportunity to grow and to change things for the better. My effort and attitude determines my abilities. Feedback is constructive. Feedback isn't bad. It doesn't have to be negative. It's constructive and can help me, right? So as you see on the screen there, and then that fixed mindset is failure is the limit of my abilities. Being kind of in this place of thinking my potential and success is predetermined. Like it doesn't matter what I do or I don't have the ability to do it. Whereas challenges bring opportunity and growth is kind of that growth mindset rather than the fixed. Another way of thinking about it is like growth mindset in terms of the healthiness of that, of things can and will change. They're not going to be a certain way forever. Whereas in that fixed mindset, it's kind of that thought of, man, this is rotten or bad, or I wish it was different. It's going to be this way forever. When in reality, that's not true. And so again, knowing the difference between those two and knowing that I can ebb and flow between those two. But if I find myself drifting to that fixed mindset piece, if I can realize that and bring myself kind of back to that growth mindset and having the ability to do that can really be helpful and beneficial. And then the last slide we wanted to touch on that has to do with the growth mindset and the fixed mindset piece is coaching a growth mindset, right? We can all do that, whether it be with ourselves and or with other folks and other people. I know many of your teachers in terms of conversations and around school, this is a big thing in terms of trying to help coach and develop that growth mindset for young people. And I know in going through my life, this wasn't a theory or a belief that was talked about, but I know that even though people weren't intentional about it, as I was young and going through life, I can look back on it now and know that I had people in my life that really believed in this, even though, again, I don't think it was really a big belief or theory back then. So again, 5 questions to develop a growth mindset there on the left, and then 5 feedback comments to help develop a growth mindset. So what we can do to help others possibly along those lines of developing that, as well as what we can maybe do for ourselves and helping ourselves along those lines. So hopefully that's all been helpful. At this point, I'm going to kick it back over to Mr. Flores for him to talk with you all about some things that are on his mind.
Thank you, Mr. Cowden. Just to build on what you've said, sometimes especially when we're going through the challenging times that we're going, we often can think that we have a fixed mindset, and we can get down on ourselves because of that. And the truth is, we often are a blend of both. Oftentimes we can get caught in a momentum of having a fixed mindset. The purpose of being able to compare both growth mindset and fixed mindset is so you can see that you can be a blend of both. We're really challenging all of you to practice a growth mindset. And practice doesn't make perfect, but practice is progress. And we ask that you chip away at making progress and looking at things like it's doable, considering the circumstances that we're in, and reaching out to your teachers so that you can look at things look at challenges as something that's solvable. I was talking to a student about this lesson, and he challenged me to share practical ways that we can apply a growth mindset. And so we ask ourselves, practice how? Oftentimes you can use rather than using statements, you can use questions. Oftentimes a fixed mindset can be, I can't get out of this situation, versus how can I get out of this situation? And when you ask yourself a question, the brain starts to problem solve. Brain starts to go into problem solving mode, because that's what we do when we ask ourselves questions. The other thing is, you think about how your attitude affects your skill, and it affects your knowledge, right? Here, you can look at going into a negative direction and a positive direction, but with a growth mindset, you can feel negative about it, but also believing yourself that you can make that turn. And when you make that turn, you tap into your skills and you tap into your knowledge, and you're able to overcome certain challenges and build on that growth mindset. Oftentimes we feel internal internal things just even by seeing the Zoom icon, right? Because this is not how we want things to be. We didn't want things to be on Zoom, but this is the situation that we're in with the pandemic that we face. And it's really important to really be mindful and just be aware of what you're feeling internal and how it's affecting the external. Is it making you stop, or is it and if it's making you stop, you go back to that question, what can I do to go, or what can I do so that I don't stop? We know that this is a challenging time, and this is why we come up with these videos, to help be that spark, to help you look at progress, to help you see light at the end of the tunnel, that we can together learn, grow, and get out of this situation as best as we possibly can. We hope that as you think about a growth mindset, you ask yourselves, how are you practicing a growth mindset? And if you don't feel like you have, ask yourself, how can I start practicing a growth mindset? Think about some situations that you're in, or an assignment that you just received, or something that maybe you find yourself stuck with, and see how you can practice that growth mindset. On behalf of our counseling staff, we wish you the best on these last 3 weeks stretch to the end of the term. We're with you, North Medford, and stay strong.